Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live. Yes. So I got some things I definitely wanted to talk about tonight, so I figured I'll hop on here and I'll do a live show and really get my thoughts out and also hopefully give an opportunity for whoever pops in to listen to the show and call in if they want to. But before we do that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. What's going on, everybody? So thanks for popping in. Sneed, what's up, my man? Been looking out for you. Haven't seen you in the last few lives, but good to see you back in the chat, man. So if you're coming in, please, as I just mentioned in my little blurb there, make sure you're hitting that like button. It really helps us out a lot. And make sure you hit that share too. Share it out to other people you know that love sports talk and might want to hop in and add something to the chat or hear what I got to say. But you know what? Let's go ahead and let's get right to it, man. We got a doozy tonight. And as you can see from the rundown, the first topic is the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. And this is something, man, that I've been giving so much thought to. And obviously it's top of mind or front of mind or however you want to put it. And it's been one of the major stories in the sports media lately, right? And I guess probably the biggest sports story right now is Caitlin Clark and her adjustment to the WNBA, how other members of the WNBA and the sports media are handling that story, which is crazy. And realistically, this is probably too much to handle in one topic segment, but I'm gonna go for it, give it a shot, do what I can, because I definitely had some thoughts that I wanted to share on that. So if you're here right now, I think it's a fair assumption that you know who Caitlin Clark is and you know what she's done in college. You know she was the number one draft pick in the WNBA, etc. And Caitlin Clark has had a ton of storylines surrounding her since college, her rivalry with Angel Reese and LSU, her breaking records, etc. There's a whole bunch of stuff around Caitlin Clark and the WNBA and all that mixed together. And we're going to try to get into some of that tonight. And realistically, I'm not even sure where to start. I got some notes here, so bear with me, and we're going to try to get through it because it's a lot. So let's go back to college a little bit. Caitlin Clark, obviously superstar at Iowa. And real quick, I thought this was so interesting that the way narratives work in the media, right? So one of the narratives that gets pushed is Caitlin Clark being, a girl from the heartland, a middle America girl. She stayed home to go to college, and she did. Technically, she's from Iowa. She went to Iowa and played for the Hawkeyes. But what a lot of people leave out, and I'm not sure why that is, she wanted to go to UConn and play for legendary coach Gino Auriemma. They didn't recruit her, so that's how she ended up at Iowa. So, again, the narratives, and don't get me wrong, I'm part of the sports media. I'm part of the media, period. So that narrative thing is tough. I guess sometimes people leave out information because it makes for a better story. But the fact is, she did want to go to UConn, and Gino Auriemma, he's on record saying that he didn't recruit her to go there. And obviously, I'm sure he wishes he did, even though he's got a heck of a team and some great players there anyway. But she's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA basketball history, men's or women's. And she's one of the most exciting female basketball players ever. Now, let me make a quick note and let me be clear on something, right? Me personally, and this is no shot at Caitlin Clark, I take that scoring record with a grain of salt. Why do I take it with a grain of salt? Because Pistol Pete, when he was in college, he was the previous scoring record leader. He was not allowed to play varsity as a freshman. So he had a year of playing on the JV that didn't count towards his statistics. Also, when Pistol Pete was there was no three-point line. So I think it was former LSU coach Dale Brown. I think that's what it was. He actually looked at the film, tracked all of Pistol Pete's shots, and did a shot chart. And if they had threes back then, Pistol Pete would have averaged 58 points per game. And that's only over a 3-year career, not even 4. So take that how you will. I'm taking it to say there's no way anybody ever gets near that record if there were threes when Pistol Pete plays. So we got to look at all that stuff, right? It's one of those things when I hear in any sport, when I hear about the records, I think we automatically should make a delineation point for when rules change to change how records were accrued, right? But that doesn't mean Caitlin Clark is not all-time great, because she is. Anyway, so she broke the scoring record. She played for the national championship twice with a team that wasn't as good as the teams that she played against. So clearly she was I'm not going to say that she got no help, but obviously she was the main cog and she carried those teams, right? She came up short both times for the national championship. We got to make sure we're honest about that, right? Because just to take it to the pros, when LeBron loses, I make sure I say it. I don't give anybody a pass for losing. Now, is there can we utilize context in observing why losing happens? We absolutely can. But at the end of the day, like my guy Rob Parker says from Fox Sports Radio, sports has a short menu, wins and losses, and at the end of the day, she's got two on the biggest stage in college basketball. Regardless, she is one of the greatest players in college basketball history. Okay, so she broke the scoring record. She played for the chip twice, lost both. But in the same time, she was a catalyst for viewing records of women's college basketball on television. There's no doubt about that. Her rivalry with Angel Reese also caused some other issues. And if you want, you can kind of get more on that if you look back through the channel maybe about a month or two ago, where I discussed my thoughts on the whole Angel Reese situation and her comments after the semifinals loss to Iowa last season. There was a whole lot there, and I had a lot to say about that. I did a lot of thinking and did that. Melvin Lyons, what up, L Boogie? Good to see you, bro. This Caitlin Clark narrative is ridiculous. Let's see what we got. Let's put this up here. She was bad in college. Let's see what she's gonna. Right. No, she's absolutely good for the sport, and we're gonna get to that, man. Thanks for stopping in, L Boogie. Appreciate you, man. So where were we? Okay, so yeah, so you can, like I said, you can check my previous show for some Angel Reese comments. That's a whole nother thing that I really got into and I gave some serious thoughts to. Okay, so back to Caitlin Clark, right? So she was playing in the Final Four last year, and it was pretty interesting the way they set it up. They had Diana Taurasi, who a lot of people see as the GOAT in the women's game, greatest of all time. She was on a simulcast with Sue Bird. I think they played together at UConn, and they were kind of discussing different things and having different guests while watching the game and giving their thoughts. They had Cheryl Miller on there, who was another one who's in the GOAT argument for women. They had Kelsey Plum on there, who was the previous women's scoring champion before Caitlin Clark broke it. So that was actually pretty interesting to watch if you love basketball, period. So one of the biggest comments that made waves during the simulcast were the comments made by Diana Taurasi. And this is kind of, I want to say, where it all started media-wise.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. It might take a little bit longer for some people.
So Timothy Taylor, what's up? Thanks for coming in the chat. And this was an interesting comment. Majority of WNBA players only practice against black male basketball players in the offseason. That's the only way Clark is going to get better. And there may be some truth to that. And you'll hear later in this segment, I've got some sound from her saying how she grew up playing against males, and that's nothing to her. So we're going to get to that. But you're probably right. And I'm sure, being Indiana Fever, she will probably get the opportunity to practice against the Pacers and those guys. So I'm sure I'm sure that's going to be legit. Yeah, yes, Need, she did speak truths. But here's the thing about it, right? She spoke truths, but as it is in this modern society, everybody went nuts. They called her a hater. They said she was jealous. But to me, and based on what we're seeing now, it sounds like she sure knew what she was talking about, right? And at the end of the day, right? And this is something I always do when people call me a hater, no matter what I'm talking about. I ask one very simple question. What did I say that wasn't true? And so we can apply that same logic to Diana Taurasi for anyone who says she was a hater. What did she say that wasn't true? And I've been a fan a while now for saying a very simple thing. In 2024, truth equals hate. Because when you tell the truth, people call you a hater. That's just what it is. And Taurasi's been in the league, I think, for what? 21 years now, and she's seen and done it all. So I think it's fair to take what she says and say it's pretty viable, because so far what she said has come to fruition. So let's fast forward to this season. Caitlin Clark helps set records for the highest numbers on a draft since '04. Coincidentally, when Diana Taurasi got drafted, she's helping to set, excuse me, TV and live gate records for the Fever and for other games in the WNBA. She's got the biggest shoe and endorsement deal with Nike of any player in the league. I think it's like 6 years, $28 million. And as far as on the floor, it's definitely been a rough transition. But that's what we expect from a rookie in just about any sport. And that's just like Diana Taurasi said. And it's to be expected. Like, think about, let's go through and think about whether it's basketball or WNBA or NBA or the NFL or what have you, or even high school to college. There's very few sports and very few people that can go from college to the pros without that adjustment period. That just is what it is. Man down sports was good, my brother. Yeah, Diana Taurasi told it for real. That's a fact. And again, that's not hating. That's not taking, and I'm not saying you are, that's not taking any shots at Caitlin Clark. That's just saying she's been there. Diana Taurasi is arguably the greatest women's player of all time, or the greatest player in WNBA history. And she only averaged 17 as a rookie. Caitlin Clark is averaging 15.6. We'll get there. What we got? Some people have to be able to accept Clark if the ceiling ends up being JJ Redick instead of Steph Curry. They want WNBA. Right, right. No, you're absolutely right, Timothy. You're absolutely right. I think that she is going to get better, and she's going to be better than a JJ Redick. I don't know if she's going to be a Steph Curry, but she'll definitely be better than a JJ Redick. But we'll see. So, um, Caitlin Clark, she went from leading the country in scoring and assists at Iowa last season. Now, again, that was a system where she always had the ball. It was all on her. She's making all the decisions, taking the majority of the shots. But at the same time, everybody knew that she was facing the bulk of the defensive attention. She was still getting it in. But now, she's 17th in the WNBA in scoring. She's leading all rookies in that category, but her field goal percentage and her 3-point field goal percentage are much lower than anyone would expect. I think she's like 33 or 34% from the field and 29% from three. But again, we have to chalk that up to her playing against the best women in the world. Like, there's no, there's no Bruce Hope State University on the schedule, right? This is the WNBA. This is where the best female players on earth are playing, and they're not just going to roll over and give it to her, right? She's now playing against the best coaching. She's playing against physical defenses, and all that again is part of the adjustment, and there's nothing wrong with that. And part of that, right? Part of that, thinking about it, is that there's, yeah, Timothy, she is leading the WNBA in turnovers. I was getting to that. Part of that though is that she's also facing uh the best coaching, physical defense, and all that is there, right? And the other thing is she has almost no time, as all the rookies, between uh the end of the college season, the WNBA draft, and camp to start their season, because of where the WNBA season sits, right? So it's not even like you get an entire offseason to really get on the nutrition and the strength program, or to get acclimated to the physicality of the pro game. You don't get all that, because what did she have? Maybe a month and a half between finishing school and starting in the WNBA. That's just not enough time. So you're really getting, what is it, baptized under fire, right? I think that's the expression. So you're getting that immediately. And she's also pretty much getting everyone's best shot, right, defensively. And she's trying to work her way through it. And she's leading the league in turnovers, like Timothy Taylor mentioned, at 5.4 per game, which is crazy. I think that's probably going to be the highest ever, whether NBA or WNBA. So now she gets those turnovers trimmed down. That's going to equal extra possessions, which theoretically equals more points and theoretically more wins. So that's a simple one right there, right? But again, that's just something that she's going to have to learn with time. Clark needs Angel Reese. She needs a player who loves to set screens and grab offensive rebounds. And we're going to talk about Angel Reese a little bit. But yeah, that would be interesting for them to play together. But I don't know if the league, for marketing purposes, wants them playing together. It could be interesting down the road if both of them continue to improve as players and get a little bit of rivalry going. And maybe then something happens. But as of right now, no, I don't think so. All right. So now we know what Caitlin Clark was kind of going through college, and the comments by Diana Taurasi, and now we know what she's facing since she got into the league the physicality. So obviously physical pressure, the mental pressure of being considered the savior of the league, all that talk. And then over the weekend, the lid finally blew off the pot, so to speak. And so we see here Chenedy, I don't know how to pronounce that, Carter of the Chicago Sky. She's basically like a Pat Beverly or Draymond Green of the WNBA. She puts the physical hip check on Caitlin Clark during a baseline out of bounds play, and that ignited a ton of discussion in the sports media and beyond. And that's crazy. I don't even have enough time to get into all of that, but I'm going to try to get into some of it, right? So sure, it was a dirty play, and it was physical, right? Okay. The foul was assessed, then reassessed, or applied. So it's like, oh my gosh, really? But okay, cool. So all part of the game. But now we're seeing everything boil over as a result of all of this. And we're hearing the discussions on Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. And now they're broaching gender and sexuality and race. And it's crazy. And these are all things that were kind of lurking in the background. Thank you, Kennedy. Okay. Interesting. Thanks, man. Down. Appreciate you, Kennedy Carter. So anyway, yeah. So all this is stuff that was kind of lurking in the background, and so you see that, and then it's like, all right. But now that the lid is blown off, you really hearing all this stuff truly being discussed on a bigger level, right? But this is where things can go in the modern sports media, right? And you have, I don't know if y'all saw this, the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune writing an article, I swear to you, that likened the flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark to an assault if it happened outside of sports. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you can seriously look that up. If you're on your phone or a computer right now, just open up another tab and type in Chicago Tribune, Caitlin Clark. You'll see the article. And they actually compared that flagrant foul to an assault if it happened outside of sports. Like, that's a ridiculous statement to make. Basketball is a contact sport. It is, right? Do we liken dirty hits in football or fist fights in hockey to assault? We got to stop this, right? Women say they're equal, they're strong, they're independent, they don't need men. All that is fine, because for many women, it's true. But then why are we as men expected to protect them at every turn, whether physically or verbally? Think about this. We have to be careful in the way we address any topic that involves women. We have to dance around the point and treat them with kid gloves, and it's nonsense. Caitlin Clark has been asking, Caitlin Clark isn't asking for extra protection or special treatment. So why do so many people in the media feel like they need to give it to her? Don't believe me? Let's hear what she had to say about it.
It is what it is. I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Like, just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get inside your head and know it's coming. I think at this point, like, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game, and that's what it is. Just stay in the game is saying what's important.
So shout to Man Down Sports. I was listening to his show earlier today, and he actually had some sound from Kenyon Martin saying, and Kenyon Martin was basically saying that, hey, at some point, even though her teammates should have stood up for her, that she's gonna have to stand up for herself physically and make it known that she's not gonna be having all that, or they're just gonna keep trying to test her. So it is what it is. Mainstream media putting pressure on Caitlin Clark that most players cannot live up to. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. When you're that person and they need you to be that person, and you're delivering so much in terms of revenue growth and all that to a league, they're going to put that pressure on you. That's just what it is. Yeah, so I'm watching all this and I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me, right? So Caitlin could be saying the right thing here, right? But she knows that it's all just something that comes with the territory, or at least it seems that way. And she wants to represent the WNBA and women's basketball as best as she can. Now, another part of the gender piece in this situation is the coverage, right? So it's frustrating to me in paying attention to all of this that now there's female media members acting as if men who have covered sports for years suddenly don't have a right to make any commentary on this story because the WNBA wasn't a fixture in the headlines before. Are we for real? If we are honest, the WNBA, for the most part, was not a needle mover, so it wasn't going to get large scale coverage. That's just it. I mean, that's honest. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm some WNBA aficionado. I can tell you when I was in journalism school, I covered Division I women's basketball for the University of North Florida. I did that. I can tell you even before all that, before I joined the military, before I was in journalism school, any of that, I actually attended WNBA game at Madison Square Garden. I think me and my wife, we weren't even married then, but we got a picture with us and Cheryl Swoops. So like I'm not a stranger to the WNBA. Again, I'm not an aficionado and I will never say that I am, but I'm not a stranger to that sport anyway. Um they just try and protect their girl. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The WNBA has a ton of money invested in this young lady. Yeah, and you don't kill the golden goose, but at the same time, she has to be able to live up to all that, and you can only protect her but so much. Good comment, El Boogie. Yeah. So, it's really annoying that you have these female media members acting like men suddenly don't have a right to say. I'm sorry, have a right to say anything regarding the WNBA just because they weren't covering it before, and that's disingenuous because we know how the media works. If there's a story nobody cares about, nobody's going to talk about it. That's just it, right? So, um, now the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, all that, it's a super hot topic. So the coverage has grown exponentially now, right? And that doesn't mean that men don't have a right to discuss it. If we're honest, right? Let's think about this now. This is what I like to do. I always like to reverse things. Imagine the uproar if male sports journalists were telling women that their opinions and their reporting on male dominated sports was somehow invalidated. We hear women complain about that all the time, right? We hear the stories about what it was back in the day. We hear stories about even what some still experience today, right? And it's a huge thing, but they can turn around and tell us that we can't report on something and give our opinions on it. Man, get out of here. Why is it okay when it's reversed? We'll leave that there. All right, but now you got the bigger piece, and this is this is a real problem. Um, what we got here, Timothy Clark. Clark was also playing with the fourth most points in NCAA women's history in Kelsey Mitchell. Right now, Mitchell is better than Clark. Great point. Great point. So there you go. Um, yeah. So now we take it away from the gender piece, and now what do we have? We have the race part, and that's the part that you never, it's America, right? So there's no way around that. It's been suggested, and in some ways, flat out stated that Caitlin Clark is getting extra attention and that the situation is being handled differently. Why? Because she is white in a game that is predominantly black. Is there a racial component? Yes, there's a racial component because it's the United States of America and there is almost always a racial component. So, as per the 2020 census results, right? 2020 census says 61.6% of Americans identify as white alone. That makes up the vast majority of the American populace. 6 out of 10 people in America identify as white only. Okay. That makes up the vast majority. So even though Caitlin Clark is an incredible player, and again, two things can be true. So I'm not saying she can't hoop. She's a baller, right? But the fact is, even though she put in the work to get where she is, being a white person is more identifiable to most of America. That's just it. So that's part of what's going to play a role into the attention that she's getting, right? Especially in terms of marketing. If I can market to 6 out of 10 people versus 1.2, the 1.2 being 12% of the American populace is African American alone, right? So if I can do that, I mean, we got to be real here, right? So it's just the math. The numbers play out. So anyway, even though she's an incredible basketball player, she put in the work to get where she is. It only makes sense that the marketing is going to be there, and we can't deny that. So it doesn't mean that her race is the only reason that she's getting attention, but it would be extremely disingenuous for anyone to act as if it doesn't play a role. I mean, that's just what it is. Um, let's look at some examples how Caitlin Clark for hold on, what we got here, man down? Men have a right to discuss WNBA for sure, but we should not be the leader in the discussion when we have former players and experts of the league on the women's side. No, 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 no. See, I'm not buying that, man down. I hear what you're saying and it sounds good, but when uh when women want to discuss men's sports, right? And we have former players and experts in the league On the men's side, they're not trying to hear that. They just say we should have our right to cover the sport and discuss it the same way men do. So the same thing needs to happen for the WNBA. I'm not going for that. Nope, nope, nope. You can't want equality only sometimes when you want it. Nope, nope. We're not doing that. Not at all. Not here. All right. Nino, what's good, my man? It's not her fault she's getting the attention. No, it's not her fault at all, which is why I made sure to say I love the fact that you don't hear her complaining and begging for special treatment or any of that. And so I get it. Paige Beckers was supposed to be Caitlin Clark, but she got injured and she has a black boyfriend. So the media, whoa, okay, I didn't know anything about that. I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know about it, but you know, it is what it is. All right. Yeah, so let's go and look at some some of the differences, right? So we saw the foul that Kennedy Carter used, and that was the one to basically put the match to the powder keg, right? So I'm gonna re-show it. And it's funny, the more I look at this, yeah, it wasn't necessary, but it really wasn't that egregious. Like they're talking like she came with an elbow off the top rope like Macho Man Savage or something. Now, am I advocating for that? No, I'm not. But it really wasn't as egregious in my estimation as they make it out to be. Now, let's look at this foul. This wasn't Caitlin Clark, but this was a different game. And then we'll talk about the differences in how this was covered. So here we got Angel Reese literally getting pulled out of the air with the opponent's arm around her throat and slamming her to the ground. But that didn't receive too much attention, right? We didn't hear much about it. So let's be honest. How much attention did that foul get? Yes, it was during play versus Caitlin Clark's being at a stoppage on that baseline out of bounds play. But you know, it was way more egregious than the foul that Caitlin Clark got hit with. And so legendary sportscaster Bob Costas, he was on CNN, and he, an older white man now, he told it how it was. Listen to this clip.
About the championship game
right,
a year ago, LSU versus Iowa, and LSU prevailed. But to your earlier point, there was an incident recently. Alyssa Thomas, who happens to be African American, grabbed Angel Reese by the throat and threw her to the floor. Flagrant 2, ejected from the game. The reason why that doesn't spark as much conversation isn't just that Caitlin Clark is a bigger star than Alyssa Thomas. It's because it's a black on black incident.
Wow.
And you don't have that dynamic that people can comment on, yes, but also exaggerate and make the entire story sometimes.
So Bob Costas, this is an old white guy. He told the truth on that, right? He told it what it was. It's right there. Al Wajid, what's good, my brother? Good to have you in here, man. Appreciate you hopping in. Do you think controversy helps to grow the league? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. I just don't like the disingenuousness of what's going on in the media in terms of the way this is being covered. But yeah, it definitely does help to grow the league. It's good. Okay, where are we here? All right. So I'm for the most part, I'm a kind of actually I got some more. So the crazy thing is seeing that, right? Seeing those two fouls, it's amazing to me that people are still trying to deny that there's a racial component here. So they're just lying if they are, plain and simple. Like it's not cool to call somebody a liar, but if you see the Caitlin Clark foul and you see the ensuing firestorm, then you see the Alyssa Thomas and Angel Reese foul, and you see hardly anybody's talking about it, you can't tell me that race is not involved there. And I am far from the guy that's making everything a racial issue, but plain and simple, it is in this case. All right, so final part of this now before I open up the phone line. So remember earlier I talked about Angel Reese, right? So Angel Reese is also a rookie. She's a former national champion at LSU. She beat Caitlin Clark. Her and her team beat Caitlin Clark and her team for the title 2 years ago. And she's made something of a name for herself as well, right? Is she as skilled a player as Caitlin Clark? No. Is she as exciting as a player of Caitlin Clark? No. But she's a different type of player. She's a power forward. She works down low. She works. And I respect what she's doing in the league because I don't believe she's starting yet, but she's still 7th in the league in total rebounding and 1st in offensive rebounding. And that right there, that means you won it. You're a grinder. And that's a formula for winning basketball, right? You control the glass and your team gets extra possessions. And the great Pat Riley once said, no rebounds, no rings, right? So anyway, Angel Reese, she had some interesting comments recently as well. So let's hear what she had to say, then we'll come back and react to that.
I think so many people are watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me, too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game, and Kennedy has been here before, obviously, but there are so many great players in this league that have deserved this for a really, really long time, and luckily, it's coming now.
All right, so she's right. She definitely plays a big role as well. She's part of the story, right? You always need an antagonist and a protagonist, right? And she's right now the antagonist. But to say it's about one single game, that national title game in 2023, somewhat disingenuous because Caitlin Clark was still selling out arenas all over college last season. She's still selling out arenas this year in the WNBA. Now, by acknowledging that, it may feel disrespectful to the women who've been grinding it out in relative anonymity and obscurity all these years, but that's not the case. I'm not trying to say that. I understand that most of these players are excellent, right? And I appreciate the work they put in and how good they are. I have friends who are adamant that, women's sports and women's basketball is crap. And I'm like, nah, listen, I've covered the game at the D1 level. And trust me, you watch it, women's hoops can be really good. It's just you have to understand that you're going to get a different game than the men's game. And now if you really love basketball, you're looking at execution and you're looking at fundamentals and all that. The women's game is there, right? And it's funny, there's some of the same friends who complain about the lack of the physicality in the NBA say that WNBA is garbage. But I digress. The point is, I have total respect for those ladies and for that league, right? And at the end of the day, though, sometimes a league needs someone or something to kind of flip that light switch for them, right? Just like Magic and Bird in the NBA. Here's my example, right? So Magic and Bird came along in the NBA and they flipped that switch and everything got going. But does that mean that Wilt and the great Mr. Russell and Kareem and Jerry Rest and Dr. J and all those guys weren't great, or that they weren't working hard and that they didn't deserve more attention than they were getting? It absolutely doesn't mean that, but sometimes you just need that catalyst, right? And so far, for these women in the WNBA or members of the media that they're upset that it took this long to get the level of attention that they want to be paid to the sport. I get it, but don't be upset. The light is on now. So now is your time to shine. If you're a WNBA media member, if you're a WNBA player, if you're a women's college basketball player, now is your time to step up, show what you can do, and help grow this game and make sure people know it's not just about Caitlin Clark, like Angel Reese said. And she doesn't need special treatment and she doesn't want it, right? So just keep hooping and let's get ready for Juju Watkins and Hannah Hidalgo because they're coming and they are going to get busy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, facts. Facts, L Boogie. It is racially motivated, bro. I'm not saying it's completely racially motivated, but to act as if that's not a major component, it's just disingenuous, man. It really is. What do we got here? I think people are missing the most important part of Clark's game, which is her style of play. The long threes bringing excitement that the women's game has been missing. So yes and no, right? Because if you look at, and again, I'm not an authority on the WNBA, but look at somebody like Sabrina Ionescu. She is an absolute sniper. And I remember when she was in college at Oregon, I think she set the record for, I don't know if it was male and female, but definitely for female for triple doubles in a college career. I think she had like 12 or something like that. And so she was at Oregon. She was getting busy. And she's such a shooter in the league. She set the record, male or female, for most points in a three-point shootout over All-Star Weekend. That if you remember last year, at the three-point shootout, she had a special shootout against Steph Curry. And, she was letting that thing go. She got a gun, man. So I think Caitlin Clark has been paid attention to. She's been marketed. but she's not the only one who could play like that. If you check out my man Down Sports, you check out his channel and his discussion on this topic. He has some really good stuff showing Jewel Lloyd and how she plays. She is the star for the Seattle franchise. Cannot remember the name of the franchise, but the Seattle franchise, and she gets busy. She can pull that three. She has range. She can put it on the floor. She can defend. So she's an outstanding player. So yeah, if you pay attention to the WNBA a little bit, there's some serious ballers there. Let's see what we got. Juju Watkins not going to get 10% of the media coverage. Caitlin Clark got at Iowa, and USC is a way bigger school. Wow. Nah, I got to disagree, man. I got to disagree because I think that and I could be wrong, but if Juju Watkins had made the Final Four, especially as a freshman, the way she was putting up numbers, and when you watch her play, and I don't know how to say this and not make it sound bad, but like when you watch a male and a female play basketball, like the way they move is different, right? But there are a few female players that there's really not a lot of difference. Like Juju Watkins is one of those. When she balls, she doesn't necessarily move like a female. She got it, man. And I think when it's her time, she is going to be an absolute problem. And then you got Hannah Hidalgo. I think she was like 5th in the country in scoring as a freshman at Notre Dame. She's another problem. So these young ladies, it's like a page has turned, and their level of play it's just different now. So again, Caitlin Clark, keep continuing to get better, toughen up. I think next year we're going to see a real jump for her because I feel like she's going to do a lot in the offseason in terms of getting stronger, that weight and nutrition program, and again, working her skill set and all that, because now she knows what it is for real. So, she's had a couple of good games. I think she had a 20-point game. She had a 30-point game. She also had a 3-point game. So she's facing all the ups and downs that rookies go through in any sport. It is what it is. But what I'm going to do right now, Juju will get the coverage, but it won't come from the same demographic as Caitlin. Well, we'll see how much coverage she gets. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and open up these phone lines, and I would love to hear anybody's thoughts on this Caitlin Clark topic. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I missed. The topic is so broad, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA, women's basketball on a whole, but I tried to, I didn't want to take up an entire show just talking about that. I probably could have. There's so much stuff. But yeah, go ahead. Give us a call, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. I'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on this Caitlin Clark topic. Let's get it. Calling the Format Podcast. What we got?
All right, man. I had to call in. There's a lot in there. I just want to do a couple of pieces of it. The first piece.
What's good, brother? How are you, man?
Mobile Tech, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the first thing about Caitlin Clark and her struggles, that Taurasi had. That's the best statement you could make. That's what I would have told a young person coming into the league.
Yeah.
She that was like big sis, right? So that was real. That was facts. She said the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been disingenuous for her to say, "Oh yeah, things are going to be fantastic. She's going to come in here and light up." No way.
Right.
You got coaches that can do a walkthrough the day of a game and probably, put together a defensive scheme that'll contain her.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll cut her off here. We'll hedge here. We'll be ready for this screen up top. We'll just trap when she gets to the spot.
Oh yeah.
But they can do that in 30 minutes. In a walkthrough. So it's no surprise. And then you've got WNBA talent, not college talent.
That's right.
Right? This was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Caitlin Clark's going to be fine. She's a good player. She's got skills that translate. It's not just going to be a lost cause. It's just like there's those lulls. I mean, let's not forget what happened to Anthony Edwards.
Right.
Who is an incredible talent. And he was humbled for like 4 consecutive games in the most important games of the Wolves season. So I'm just saying those types of things happen to young players.
No doubt. And that's fine, man. They're going to have the ups and downs. What's frustrating me is all this ancillary stuff that's coming along with it. But, as a member of the media, you got to expect that. And at the end of the day, they're talking about it because it's a major point. People are tuning into it. Like, you had the big thing on First Take on Monday morning with Stephen A. and Monica McNutt, and they came right back to it on Tuesday because they realized, yo, wait a minute, this got a ton of engagement. Obviously, they cut it up, they put it on YouTube, people were watching, people were talking about it, comments, all of that. Stephen A. talked about it on his personal podcast on YouTube. They're like, man, we got to come right back to this thing. Monica McNutt was on Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, I think Monday night, discussing it. So this is a huge thing. You know what I'm saying? Nino, hold on, man. So yeah, this is a huge thing, Sneed. So,
Yeah, here's the problem though. This is all disingenuous. They really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you why. The reason they don't really care is because the NBA finals haven't started. There's no NFL and nobody cares about baseball.
Great point.
Nobody cares. If this was game one of the finals, Kyrie dropped 50, Luka dropped 50, Tatum dropped 45 or 50. I'm telling you, nobody would give a shit.
That's a great point. They would. They definitely would make less of a big deal about it.
This is a microcosm of our society. It's all about buzz. It's all about gaslighting. It's all about disingenuous narratives, trying to spin something out of nothing. Just think about it, right? A microcosm of our society. Everything going back to racism. Man, sports is the great equalizer. How many blacktops I've been where it just did not matter. You either got the bucket or you didn't get the bucket. It just does not matter. But they make it about this because they have nothing. You want to break down X's and O's in a Fever game? Who's done that?
No, I get that. And I have watched the Fever play, and I see what they are doing to Caitlin Clark defensively to make it much tougher on her. And again, she'll work through that.
But everything's about the story, bro. It's not about the game. Like the hip check. It's a hip check. How many times I've been hip checked? How many times I've hip checked?
So
it's just part of the game. These fouls happen.
So I get you, but I can see both sides of it, right? Like I like to say, two things can be true. So me being obviously a trained journalist, I see that side of it. But as a fan and as a sports fan, I see what you're telling me as well. But again, like I went over in my soliloquy there discussing this topic, I think it's disingenuous to say that race is not a component here. There's no way that race is not a component. And the easiest way to see that is the reaction between the two fouls that took place. And even Bob Costas, he came out and said it. And he has nothing to gain being an older white man by saying that. There's nothing for him to gain, but he came out and he told it, so there's no way race is not a part of this equation. Now, is it as big a part of the equation as some people want to make it? I don't think so, but it's absolutely a part of it.
Yeah, it's just a microcosm of society. It's all symptomatic. I see the same things. If you're watching CNN, if you're watching Fox, if you're watching just whatever TV shows, it's all the same thing. Now it's spilling into sports.
Yeah. And I mean, I could get into that.
Anywhere. You can't turn away from any of it. You just and here's the thing, bro. It doesn't matter, girls, guys. It does not matter. You know what people want to see? They want to see competitive games.
They do.
My daughter is 8 years old. And if the games are competitive, I watch every single second.
I got you, Nino. Hang on, Nino. I got you, bro. Yeah, go ahead, Sneak.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I don't want to take up too much time, man. But I was very excited about maybe liking the WNBA more because I haven't paid attention to it. Although I know who the most important players have been in the past. Because if you remember in the 90s,
I do.
Rebecca Lobo and Cheryl Swoops and those gals,
Cynthia Cooper, Tina Thompson. Oh yeah,
on the map, they won gold, stuff like that. I mean, that was meaningful, and we really haven't seen all that much since then. Like Taurasi is a great player. I mean, very skilled. Obviously, she's at the tail end of her career.
Yeah,
she gets to speak from the old head side of things. But I mean, they're getting some buzz. It might not be in an organic way.
Yeah,
really not. But they'll take it.
Yeah,
they're desperate.
No doubt.
So they'll take it, and they're going to keep feeding this until we start getting some NBA Finals games.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
Teresa Weatherspoon, coach of the Chicago Sky, when she was playing for the Liberty, she gave me 2 tickets to the game. That was the same game that I ended up going to with my wife, and we met Cheryl Swoops. So yeah, I've been around the WNBA for a little bit. But yeah, thanks a lot for calling in, brother. I appreciate you, Sneed. Appreciate you as always, man.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, brother. Nino, go ahead, man. If you can, go ahead. Call me back. I'd love to hear what you got to say. What's up, Nino?
What's up, man?
Doing all right, brother. Doing all right. What you got?
I wonder what you think about my perspective, and it's a little different.
Okay.
Because I was listening to you say that 60% of the population around here is white people, right?
In America, yeah. Based on the 2020 census, yeah.
Based on the census. Have you been to, now I'm going to ask you a legit question.
Okay.
Have you been to an NBA game or baseball game, football game in the last 5 years? I've been to a few.
Yeah, I went to Notre Dame, Stanford 2 years ago, and I went to, well, I wasn't in the stands, but I was at a bunch of Jags games, not last season, but the season prior. I was covering the team, so I've been in some games. Yeah, what you got?
So where I'm going with this is, when you was in the crowd, most of the crowd was what population would you say?
I would white.
Hello?
Yeah, I would say most of the crowd was white.
Definitely white. So where I'm going with this is, as the league of the WNBA try to grow, we got to be careful. What I think Stephen A. was talking, I think men talk business. Where I don't think no player should let her do anything, let her score, none of that.
No.
But where they say, where everybody's saying about the white and the black, it's going to be there. And I think it's going to bring money to the whole league.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
My honest opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think we should just support and watch basketball. But I think the race factor is going to kind of how I missed the Bird and Magic scenario. But I think it's going to play something like that. Even though Clark might not be talented like Bird.
No, I get it.
These girls out there are talented.
No, I'm with you.
The race factor is going to grow the game.
Listen, I got no problem with that as long as it doesn't spill over and get, real bad in terms of the racial issues. Just, that's going to be part of everything in America, but just get out there and hoop and continue to grow the game and continue to make the game better and give us a good product. That's all we really care about. What else you got, brother?
Well, that's all I was thinking about was I think it's going to be a serious conversation to be, well, we know Clark is getting the attention. Well, I won't say she's getting the attention because she's white, but like you said, most of the big attention is because she can ball, and white people done got a hold to it and they're going to support, which I can't blame them. We support, we support Tiger.
Right,
in, golf.
It's a great analogy.
Venus,
yes.
In tennis. White people want to see a white superstar too. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And
I think by them controlling the media and everything else, and they're gonna spend money with that. And so I think it all gonna equal out, and it's gonna bring more support. Like when Juju get in there, well, white people gonna say, "Well, this is a good game." So it ain't ain't about Caitlin Clark being a superstar no more.
Right.
We just supporting the WNBA, and that's from the dollars.
That's right.
So we can't run the money away.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, thanks for calling, Nino, man. I appreciate you. Stick around. We got some more topics to talk about.
Oh yeah.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Caller from California. I missed you there while I was talking to Nino. If you're available, go ahead and call back and let me hear your thoughts. Area code 442. Hello. Who's this?
What's going on, this Mel?
Oh, what's up, Mel?
What's going on, man? Yeah, I was calling in. Hold on, let me make sure I hit my mute button. All right, so I was calling in. I got 2 points I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Right. First with the Caitlin Clark stuff. The elephant in the room that nobody is addressing is that she's not really hooping. Her game is not translate and is not looking like what it looked like when she was in college.
Okay.
And that's what the frustration is coming from with her fan base, because her fan base is they pulled all their chips in looking for this girl to come in and actually take over the league. Remember, there was people saying that she could absolutely play with the men in the NBA. They said she could absolutely
That was
play
absurd though. Like, come on, man.
Ice Cube, Big 3, and they said that she's hands down better than everybody that's already in the NBA. Right, so these are the type of things that we're saying, and now for them to get that reality check, which comes back to what Darnell Rice was saying when she was like, reality is coming.
Right.
Here's the reality check. We're showing you that y'all was wrong in the media. How y'all disrespected us. Y'all disrespected every female in the sport by saying that this girl could come out of college and be better than all of us from day one. Right, so yeah, the reality check is here. She's feeling it, and her fan base is seeing it and witnessing it, and they want it. They want answers on why they can't see Caitlin Clark average 30 points a game and hit threes and take over the league. They want to know why.
So
the only way that they can explain this to themselves is by saying they hate her and they're stopping her from balling, and the WNBA needs to step in.
Well, my thing is this though, like, the same people that are asking these questions and making these assertions, WNBA needs to step in. Why is she not doing this? Why is she not doing that? Are they watching though? That's the question.
No, Caitlin Clark. No, the media members that have been speaking about it.
Oh, the media. Okay, good. My bad. I thought you were saying the fans. And okay.
Well, I mean, it's probably some fans. I mean, obviously they're watching because they're showing up to the games, and she's getting a lot of views at her games. So it's obviously some of her fans watching. I'm just talking about the ones that's in the media that has been disrespecting the ladies that's already in the NBA with some of their inflammatory comments that they've been making.
Okay, I got you.
Her showing up to the league, so they're not watching it, because when I sit here and watch them, I don't think Stephen A, LaShawn McCoy, anybody, I don't think they watch the game. They watch highlights, they look at stats, they do this for a job, right? The second point I wanted to make is, throughout this whole conversation, all the different shows, I'm watching all of them. I'm just like you, trying to make content and all that stuff. So I'm watching all of them, trying to see what's interesting. And one common trend I'm seeing is that, one, they're all on the side of these girls are jealous of Caitlin, and they're pushing that narrative, right? But however, I don't believe they really believe that. They know how to make content.
Right.
They're playing the numbers game as well. How do I know this? Because when they had their big blow up on First Take, when they invited
Monica McNutt
and McNutt back for the next day, if you watch that whole segment, it got to a point where it was almost done, and Stephen A. Smith gave that grin and was like, "Look, you just got to play the game." Shannon Sharp said, "You got to play the game." He was like, "We're playing to win."
Yeah.
Right. Because he was like, if you think we go have attention over here with our host, we're not. We're playing to win. We're playing the game. He said that. Acho on Speak said some of the same things.
Yeah, he said he's trying to make a good segment. He's trying to make great TV. I heard him say that the other day.
Exactly. And I've heard that 3 different times.
Okay.
They're playing the numbers game. They know the rate. They know this race card thing is really, really good TV. Just like Fox News and everybody else know it's really good because it's a whole demographic of people that want to hear that and want to use that excuse. So hey, I'll feed it to you. Give it a ring. It's the same thing. I'll feed it to you. That's what they're doing. They're playing a numbers game. They know good and well this ain't about no freaking race, and don't nobody hate them. They're just speaking into an echo chamber and trying to, see if they can garner as much views as possible, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, like I said, I think I said it to Sneed and to Nico. It's not all race, but race is a component. You can't get away from that in America. You just can't. It's a piece.
But they're poking at a hornet's nest, knowing that it's easily to stir the fans and the people up with this race thing. They know it's gonna work every time. Every time they push that button, it's gonna work, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing I say, and then I take it off the air, bro. I just wanted to not reiterate, but kind of explain what I was saying about us lead the conversation as men for the WNBA. The reason why I don't think that we should be the leaders on that, because we are on the leaders of the men's sport, and I'm just talking about the talking heads on TV in general, right? Because we know for a fact they're not watching the game, right? Then we know for a fact that when they start talking about WNBA, they're going to use an NBA perspective. And it's 2 different leagues, 2 different games.
That's true.
And the women of the league do not want their game to turn into the NBA. They do not want them to take away fouls and physicality and all that stuff. So we need to let them speak for themselves. People like Ogumake, who played in the league not too long ago, let's hear what they got to say. Invite them on, or let them have their own show. And they can invite us on. We're contribute to the conversation, but we don't need to be the leaders on this. That's like me going to a bachelorette party and saying I need to dictate how that's going to go. we gotta let them have their own space sometimes. We don't need to be leaders on all of it.
So
let them lead that conversation.
So to some extent, I get that, but then you look at a guy, and this is one that comes to the top of mind for me, is Ryan Ruocco, and he's been calling WNBA games for years now. Years, I'm thinking probably close to a decade, maybe more. And so I don't see why. Oh, well, because he's a male, he can't. Nah. He should be able to get right in there and be one of the leaders in that discussion the same way. I don't have any issue with it.
It's the same. He's the equivalent to what Doris Burke is in the NBA. Yeah, when you've been part of it so long, there's always an exception to the rule. All I'm saying is
that's true.
I don't like to watch a panel and see an expert on the league, someone who's been covering it for years, and she's a female, and another one who's an expert on the league because she's been playing in the league for years, sit on the panel and have a former football player who don't even know nothing about the NBA, who already admitted that he don't watch the WNBA, and then a daggone receding hairline Uncle Tom.
Oh, here we go.
Don't watch the WNBA either and don't really know nothing about the NBA. Sit and talk down on females and say, no, the league needs to do X, Y, and Z just like the NBA. That's how can we have that conversation?
So I get that, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you the way you framed it there. I don't. The only thing I'm trying to say is when you have females in the sports media who are trying to discount the male voices, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily males trying to lead, but discount the male voices because I guess they shouldn't have a right to speak on it. Nah, I'm not trying to hear that.
Nah,
not at all.
I don't think I've seen nobody discount the male voices.
I just read something.
I will say this.
My bad.
I will say this. If you don't watch the sport, you need to use your 2 ears more than you use your mouth. And I'm talking to Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and LaShawn McCoy. I mean, you can't admit to not watching it.
And then you arguing. Yeah.
And then you show up and then just tell someone who's been part. Just like the I don't know the man name you said they've been calling the sport for a while. It's the same thing. If he's
Ryan Ruocco.
He's part of it. If he was invited on the show, that would make more sense. Okay,
right.
Yeah, that'd make more sense. Invite him on the show and let him have a conversation. He'll lead the conversation. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying it's all exclusive or all exclusive and say men is not invited to the table or the party. All I'm saying is let them lead their part. Invite us on, and then for the exceptions like the guy that you mentioned, yeah, he's there. But no, we don't need nobody that ain't never watched the game all of a sudden trying to build authority on it and tell a female that, no, y'all doing it wrong and y'all jealous and all, that was just too much to watch though. But I'll take that off the air, man. I appreciate it, but I don't want to hold your lines up.
All right, no doubt, man. I appreciate you calling, Mel.
All
right, brother. All right, team. That's some good feedback. I appreciate the calls.